5 minutes ago, Tony Beets made a very frightening find during an excavation on Gold Rush. From torrential downpours to stalled machinery in the muck, here is what Tony Beets discovered. Although the search for gold has never been simple, Tony Beets has been known as the king of Klondike by reaching and exceeding his objectives throughout time. But when he finds himself caught between attempting to catch up and trying to accomplish his annual objective, it appears like the chances are against him. Given the startling realization he had only moments ago, the ramifications of this might indicate the end of Tony's prosperous rule. Even though gold mining seemed difficult from the start of the dig, Tony never gave up. Given that he has just seen a large crop of gold, he is certain that his land will not let him down. Tony Beets understands how to pursue his goals precisely when it comes to business, despite what some may think is his arrogance. The 80-puck cut was his main target. It had just produced an important discovery of over 500 ounces of channel gold. Tony is adamant about maintaining the flow of gold from this site because of the encouraging vein developments and large profits. Tony and his team put forth a lot of effort to keep on course. Tony is a hands-on manager that makes sure everything is operational and efficient by being present at the site. Everything appeared to be going well for Tony as the mining got underway. But for this renowned miner, destiny had different ideas. Tony's preparations are further complicated by the unpredictability of the weather, which leaves him with just 900 ounces to work with. One major challenge is that the once promising field becomes a muddy quagmire as the rain falls non-stop. Tony is worried about how it would affect their operations, even though he is used to being in charge and leading. Having accepted the hazards in full, he now had to deal with a new reality. For the miners, it is a terrifying nightmare whenever the sky opens and water pours. Rain creates floods, which makes it nearly hard to locate anything of significant worth or to carry on mining. As a seasoned miner, Tony Beets is aware that this is a difficulty and a setback. Unfortunately, he is powerless over the weather, so all he can do is pray that the rain doesn't destroy his year's worth of mining plans. Tony had only committed to a rigorous schedule 12 weeks prior, working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. This choice demonstrated his unrelenting commitment to overcoming all challenges. Tony was aware that his aim of obtaining 5,000 ounces of gold this season was behind schedule, and he needed to work hard to catch up. Since time wasn't on his side, and he had to get started right away, he had to come to terms with this new reality. Increasing the trommel's water flow to help it settle with the surrounding materials is one of his daring tactics for optimizing gold extraction. Ever the ambitious one, Tony accepted full responsibility for earlier in the year problems. Nevertheless, it was discovered that the settling ponds were not adequately strengthened, and there were already indications of problems there. This happens when the crew radios over the urgent news that many dikes have burst. Because they reduce floods, safeguard infrastructure, control runoff, and preserve stability, dikes are essential for controlling water in mining operations, especially during wet seasons. Maintaining effective mining operations, protecting worker safety, and reducing environmental effects all depend on well-designed and maintained dikes. In light of this emergency, Tony must make the difficult choice to temporarily suspend efforts to fortify and repair the dikes. During the mad dash for gold, every minute counts, and while this action is vital, it will cost you a lot of time. But the team persisted, understanding how critical it was to keep everything running at the 80-puck cut, and they worked non-stop to keep water from getting where it shouldn't. Even if the water levels are increasing once more, Tony is unwavering in his fight against them. He is adamant about controlling the weather's whims over his mining endeavor. Tony is aware that a single day might be the difference between hitting your goal and walking away empty-handed in this industry. For this reason, he strives to ensure that he has produced quality outcomes at the end of each day. Tony makes it clear how serious the situation is in terms of the pond's integrity. He gives his employees immediate instructions to take care of the problem. They designate Tony's trusty team member Nick to keep a close eye on a certain region near the pump. The water did not appear to be stopping despite their best efforts, and the rain did not appear to be ceasing. The team as a whole is impacted by Tony's obvious deep concern for the stability of the dikes. Tony finds himself reflecting on the difficulties they have encountered and worries that this important project may not succeed. Nature clearly has the upper hand when it comes to problems, but man has developed to the point where he can conquer nearly all of them. Tony is faced with a formidable conflict with the natural world, thoroughly engrossed in the harsh realities of struggling against the forces of nature. By now, it should be evident that this was no simple game of sun-dried gold nugget refinement. Rather, it was an unrelenting battle against the passage of time, the elements and the will of the weather. Given these significant barriers, one can't help but wonder if Tony Beets will succeed in reaching his audacious target of 5,000 ounces of gold. As tempting as the 80-pup cut may seem, his chances are limited by the constant downpour and rising volumes of water. Tony's drive is unshakable, despite the odds being stacked against him as he battles tooth and claw to stay afloat amid the roar of equipment ringing over the countryside. Tony Beets has shown such tenacity that we are all pulling for him and hoping that he eventually achieves his mining objectives. But Tony still has a long way to go. Tony becomes aware of the significant daily financial losses that would result from this important piece of heavy gear remaining broken after their excavator becomes trapped in a settling pond. Now that this is a serious setback, the team's only option is to suspend operations. It becomes clear that until a solution could be discovered, the mining attempt would need to be put on hold. This implies that for every second the team is not mining, money is lost. Still, the Klondike King is forced to concede that nature has triumphed against him, especially since the rain is still falling heavily. Thank goodness, Cousin Mike takes charge and tries to solve the problem. Regretfully, his efforts result in an unanticipated consequence. His own excavator falls into the sea as well. What a double-edged tragedy. A remedy to this latest setback is sorely needed. Tony is a self-starter who won't allow anything hold him back from achieving his goals, and will stop at nothing to up his mining game. For this reason, he has an idea that prompts him to enlist the help of 2 more excavators in an emergency rescue expedition. The men's efforts are unexpectedly fruitless, and they end themselves back where they started. Tony quickly dispatched the heavy-duty equipment, which included the massive 115-ton D11 and the 18-ton D6 dozer, realizing that more durable equipment was required. Now that he has access to these powerful equipment, the next obvious task is to figure out how to free the excavator that has been stuck in the bog. Tony uses his years of knowledge to address the issue head-on and creates a meticulous strategy that is carried out with accuracy. Tony draws on his vast mining expertise. Tony had to deal with a number of difficulties during his mining career. He is a great miner because he can overcome obstacles and deal with each one at a time, and this situation is no exception. Tony will stop at nothing to take back control of his enterprise, even if it means going up against Mother Nature. The area's water must be drained in order for them to accomplish their aim. In order to do this, fine tailings are pushed into the pit by the powerful D6 dozer, creating a ramp. By doing this procedure, the earth beneath the immobilized excavator will be strengthened and stabilized, preparing the way for its eventual retrieval. Then comes the gigantic 115-ton D1 with 850 horsepower going into service as a rescue mission star. Anticipated is that it will start with a comprehensive patrol, looking for ways to support the effort. Team Tony Beets is putting forth a lot of effort to support this proposal. Everyone is hopeful that Tony could succeed as they watch everything come together. Tony performs admirably, being the specialist that he is. Tony builds a strong foundation to handle the weight of this powerful machine by cleverly devising a way to slide the D11 onto the guarded ramp. Liberate the two excavators that are caught in the mire is the simple goal. Everyone concerned understands the seriousness of the issue and how quickly time is running out. But Tony Beets is nonetheless painfully aware that every choice has repercussions of its own. Tony is an experienced miner who understands how to overcome this difficulty. If he had been a novice, he would have dug himself farther into the tragedy. He carefully considers how to overcome the obstacles and finally find a solution to the urgent problem at hand, despite the potential hazards. Everyone is waiting anxiously to see who will prevail in the conflict between man, nature, and machinery. A chaotic battlefield, where man battles against the forces of nature, emerges as the engines scream to life and the equipment comes to life. This is not an easy operation, since releasing the stuck excavator requires a great deal of expertise and experience that have been refined in the harsh world of gold mine, not to mention the capacity to adjust to unanticipated conditions. Tony Beets' setback is reverberating across the mines, highlighting the unforgiving nature of the business and its intrinsic complexity. Seeing how much labor goes into mining, getting gold is a highly satisfying and thrilling experience. Though most individuals would have given up by now due to the difficulties encountered while attempting to get the gold, Tony Beets persisted. Tony Beets assumes leadership and drives the enterprise ahead while navigating the precarious balance between man and environment. In order to make sure they complete all tasks, he gives his team guidance on how to move forward and recommends certain techniques. As the strategy is carried out, the once dangerous settling pond progressively loses its characteristics of a quagmire. Tony looks on happily as things go along in the correct direction. Tony is filled with motivation and optimism, knowing that his goal might yet come true. But he's also cautious since he doesn't know what the future brings or whether this is the last task for this season. The way that this marshy terrain is shown visually also serves to bring to mind the difficulties that the miners on Paradise Hill encountered. The unrelenting Klondike rain has already created production delays on Paradise Hill throughout the week, on top of the current difficulties. As previously said, rain is one of the biggest fears of miners because it presents a number of difficulties that not only cause disruptions to mining operations, but also pose a risk to the safety of the labor force. Rain might cause collapse in the delicate process of gold extraction, endangering the safety of the workers. Tony is determined to hit the 5,000-ounce goal and is hopeful in spite of the increasing pressure. On the other hand, the earlier in the day excavator mishap cost them around 2 hours of output. The majority of the blame for the disaster went to Mike's cousin, who unintentionally drove the excavator into the muck. Tony, who is softer toward everyone, doesn't like to mince words, especially when someone has harmed him or taken time out of his life. Tony, who is renowned for having a direct approach, states very frankly that Mike's cousin got himself into a difficult situation because he didn't pay close attention to the instructions. It wasn't shocking that Tony wasn't happy with his crew because he had made clear what he wanted them to do and the directions they needed to follow in order to make the mining successful. In order for the squad to accomplish all of the season's objectives, Tony believes that they now need to be playing at their best. Will Tony Beets and his team be able to recover from this setback, given that they have misplaced an excavator and have to cease operations? Tony admits that omitting important facts contributed to some of the issues. When it comes to handling dangerous obstacles, every little detail matters. For everything to go successfully, the team members must all recognize how important it is to collaborate. The team's intercultural relations are demonstrated by their jokes about Tony having to explain everything in English, Dutch, or Finnish, which brings a light-hearted element to the scenario. It also demonstrates how well Tony has set up the work atmosphere so that they can readily have light-hearted times together. The difficulties he faces in saving his crew from difficult circumstances sharpen his technical skills. Like all miners, Tony has obstacles to overcome, but what makes him unique is his unwavering commitment to keeping going ahead and refusing to let anything stop him. Is Tony able to get past this horrifying discovery, or is this really the end of the road for him? This is the issue that continues to haunt the team. As soon as the gold is found, the crew gets ready to weigh it to see if they succeeded. Tony is experiencing an intense emotional roller coaster that is directly related to the numerical results. There are serious ramifications, and the possible quantity of ounces recovered is quite significant. Tony worries that he might not accomplish his aim, but he also knows that his efforts will pay off. For some investors, the statistics are positive as 9 diggers methodically count while scanning around the mining region. But Tony realizes that in order to reach his objective, he needs more than 300 ounces. Recall how the earlier delay caused by the stalled excavators had severely impacted his mining strategy. In mining, every minute counts since it has the potential to determine whether or not a goal is achieved. As the count goes up, tension increases. 240, 250, 260. As Tony and his crew sought through rock after rock, the numbers increased gradually and peaked at ever higher levels. Each figure has great significance and signifies the accomplishment or failure of their whole mining project. The team is excited and nervous every time the numbers are announced, and you can tell by looking at their faces. The ounces keep coming in minus 350, 360, and at the end of the day, their output totals more than $500,000, or $850,000. Their total of 4,601 ounces is remarkable and is the result of 6 days of unrelenting work. Tony acknowledges that a significant portion of the success was due to the 80 puffs' productive outputs. After a while of excellent performance, Tony looked forward, expecting even bigger profits in the days to come. This was because the 80 pup was doing brilliantly. All that mattered was that the gold continued to flow, even though slinging was a laborious but necessary work for a day. For the gunslingers, who were unquestionably successful, it presented no problem. Tony could only say that, given their experience, it was okay provided it paid well. Considering the week was full of obstacles, Tony is content with the weight he has gained thus far. He had hoped to reach 5,000 ounces. He is unwavering in his belief that better times are ahead and that his yield will increase. The team's joy is evident throughout the story as they celebrate their victory, which helps the reader feel sympathy for the miners who are struggling against the elements to find gold. For the time being, their efforts have paid off, even if the search for gold is a continuous undertaking fraught with difficulties. Unlike other Klondike miners, Tony Beets is unwavering in his resolve. But given his current circumstances, it's possible that his mining objectives will not materialize this year or will be postponed. Tony's mining monarchy may end, but will he continue to wield it in the face of the terrifying realization that his dreams might not come true? Thanks for watching my video.